Okay, so I'm back. More about the first steps. Well, at this point, it's more than the first because I've given you a couple of things to do. Make sure that you are writing down your challenges, your goals, your resolutions, whatever that looks like. Make sure you're writing them down. And then make sure you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're ringing the bell so you can get notifications. Again, this is still titled the same way as the first one was. So it's not a new title, it's just part of the first title, but part of the segment. So this is still um, the same title. And so here we are again. Now let me give you the next step. The next step is going to be for us to actually do what I am calling a revamp of 24. And so a revamp of 24 will help us get a clearer vision of this challenge, and it help us get a clearer vision of crushing and of the Quitter's Day. So here on Break Time Express, this is what we're going to do. So sometimes we have a tendency to look at a situation or circumstance and miss so much of the small things that are actually happening. So what I want us to do to start this challenge part is to go to do a revamp. So go back into 24 in your memory and find the moments of impact with God, which are, sometimes we miss them. Sometimes we don't see them. Sometimes they don't look like we're expecting them to, so we ignore them. Sometimes they're not even from us. Sometimes they're not even for us, but they're part of our story in some way that is to carry us into what is now 2025. Okay, so that's another part of the challenge, to go back and revamp it and find as many of those connections as you can. Write those down and on your paper where you have your goals and your or your resolutions, what you want to change. Go back and get those, because what you probably will find is that you can pull those moments of impact into this month of challenges, and you can use that as leverage to help you get over the second Friday of this month and not quit. Why? Because you will find out that you were closer than you thought, or that it was happening even when you question it, or it was the small things that was shining through that you did not see, because the expectation of how they were coming through was not what you would really consider being anything for you to notice. So we have often missed blessings. We often miss those times to know that God is listening, that He is there, He's with us, even when the big things have not come to pass. Even in our challenges, He's there, like chiseling away, because we may be the microwave. Got it fast and furious, got to have it now. But God isn't, because God knows the best timing and we don't. We just live in a society, and as humans, and it's gotten worse over the years, where we want things done and done now, no matter how long it has taken us to actually get to a point where we need to make those changes, where our mindsets need to switch, which our mindsets are take the longest. It's like the most difficult thing, because we will take our thoughts, we'll mix them with our feelings, and then we'll have a whole pot stirring, right? And with that pot stirring, now we're going to take action and behavior, and we are going to move in those thoughts. We're going to move in those feelings. And many times it's not the correct ones. But if we are able to go back and do some connections, what happens? We actually find out that things are always working out together for our good. We just didn't see it. It's what I call gleaning, because one of the things I will do is talk about some stories in the Bible. And one of my favorite stories is about Ruth. And if you don't know about Ruth, just a little bit about her. So what she did, and I'll tell a backstory about her another time, what she would do is go in the fields to get food, and was called gleaning, because what she was doing was she was picking up after the workers the pieces that they would leave behind. Not intentionally, initially at first, they weren't. But it's just from basically the crumbs that was coming out as they were collecting their wheat. And the leftover wheat, the crumbs of it was falling. But she would actually glean and find those crumbs, and she would find enough where she would actually be able to collect enough to make meals for she and her mother-in-law, who at this point was no longer technically her mother-in-law, although in biblical times you were family regardless. And not to say we don't do the same now. But by this time, her husband, Ruth's husband, had died, which was Naomi's son. Again, for another time. But I wanted to mention it because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be gleaning in 2024. We're not staying there. We are not holding up in there. We are not allowing anything that was there or anything that was brought forth from there, because I can guarantee you that I didn't leave my situation in 24. I'm still dealing with it, and many of you are as well. We changed the calendar year. We've set a new 24, but that does not mean that we have totally reset our situations and problems. So we have a new 24 that is actually comes through in 12 new chapters, beginning with chapter 1, which is January 1st. So in our chapter 1, we are crushing this history making second Friday of the month. We are crushing it. So that's the challenge. And of course, again, subscribe, ring the bell so you can get to our numbers so that I can meet my goal, but we can all meet our goals just by the changes that we're going to be making in our lives. And to get over that threshold of the second Friday and not quit, but slay the challenge, our goals, our accomplishments. So at least by the end of January, we can say that we've come over the hurdle and we're moving on further. So with that being said, I'll be back tomorrow. and we will pick up some more. And again, you will find that now we're all in different time zones. So I think Break Time Express will be always towards the afternoon. And that way it is close to someone's last break of the day on their job, or maybe a break picking up your children, or a break before dinner, or a break in between classes, a break before you need to go off to a second job, whatever it may mean. But it'll give you a chance to reset, which is what we're going to do here so we can break that history. You all have an amazing rest of your evening and continue to glean.